Okay, so I'm pretty sure I have my camera trained on a squirrel for you guys this morning. The trees have started to give up their leaves. We've had some other videos where we were looking at the leaves blowing on the trees, and there's still several trees, lots of trees out here with leaves on them. And this one in front of us has had a rough year. Maybe some of y'all have had a rough year. And the tree, though, I think is going to make it. It's had to give up some things, some of its leaves. It's not quite as pretty as it could be. And perhaps some of you who have had to give up things this year, your life is not as pretty as you'd like it to be. So the squirrels don't seem quite as fat this year. I guess they'll get fatter as they come close to winter. See other squirrels running around the courtyard, all that noise. That's not squirrels. That's children. Not sure why the children are out playing this morning. I think they normally go to a preschool, but maybe it's some special holiday. These children are, I think, from India or somewhere. They haven't picked up the American language, English language. And they run around the courtyard and holler things at each other that are indiscernible to a person who doesn't know their language. So anyway, we'll read some scriptures this morning. And this is 1 Corinthians 3. And I'll probably comment as I go along on a few of these. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. Okay, so he's talking to some folks, and he's telling them that he can't open up the spiritual world to them quite as much as he would like to. Talking that now, unto carnal is people who are living after the flesh, after the things that we see, like this squirrel. We worry about the things we eat, the things we wear. He goes on, and this is probably Paul writing this. I think is what I've learned in my past studies. I have fed you with milk, and not with meat. For hitherto you were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. Okay, so they're on a liquid diet. They're on the diet of young babies. And this word meat, that's a completely different study, but there are places in the Bible where you'll see the word meat used, and in some places it just means regular solid food. So I can't feed you a solid diet yet. People after operations go through this, and the body shuts down. So it's like these people have shut their own bodies down, their own spiritual bodies, and so he can't feed them the spiritual meat. For you are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are you not carnal and walk as men? So he's getting on to them for being envying and for arguing and for dividing up themselves among one another and walk as men. And that meat word, that's one that people divide on, and at some point perhaps we'll study that. But this is what it seems their problem was. Here we go. Paul starts again. For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? Who then is Paul, and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom you believe, even as the Lord gave to every man? I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. So in other words, aim yourself at God. And I guess this is a good time to talk about an old analogy, the preacher story. And the preacher story goes about a carpenter. And if you've ever done much with wood and saws and so forth, you know how you take a board and you measure it out and mark it with a pencil, and then you put a square on it and draw that line square across the line you marked for the distance, and you get a square place there, and then you take your saw and it's all squared up and you cut across it, and you have a nice square cut of a board that's going to be the exact length you want. Now, if you take that board and square it up on another one and make a mark on it, and then make that cut, and then you take the second board and take and square it up on another board and make a cut, and you keep that on for 4 or 5 cuts, and then you stand them up where you take the ends of the first one and maybe the 5th one or 6th one, and you put them on the concrete. You'll see that they're not the same length anymore. They've been measured against one another. And as we sit and see others around us and see who we are, and we measure each other as I am of Paul and I am of Apollos, I am of Randy, and I studied under John Bassanio, and I was taught by Dr. Phil Williams, great Greek and Hebrew scholar. And if we divide ourselves up that way, then we'd be doing sort of what they were doing here. And we end up not being Christ-like.